Hey, welcome to my toy corner. I was able to snag at the store today, or yesterday, excuse me, Hungarian Horntail dragon from the Harry Potter Wizarding World series from McFarlane Toys. Of course, this is featured from the Goblet of Fire, the contest there is first challenge. This is pretty exciting. Any of you that may remember, McFarlane released a series of dragon figures, what, 15, 20 years ago, and they were incredibly detailed, great figures. Not very posable, but back then the McFarlanes really weren't. So one thing I did notice right off the bat is it looks a little maybe like it was rushed. So the graphics on the side don't indicate the picture of what you're going to get. He's got the chain, plus he's not on the back of the packages. So it kind of makes me wonder, like, if this was just thrown in, it was added on, maybe it was a rushed project of some kind. So let's get him open. Let's see. Hopefully, maybe it's a little bit better quality-wise, quality control-wise than some of the other figures in the line. There's been some great painting and sculpting on the other figures, but there's clearly some quality control issues. You are looking at a $15 to $20 price point though, so for what you're getting, it's still a great addition to the collection. It's just not, it's not a Mafex or a figure arts or anything like that. So there is some great detail on the dragon's face. I like the mouth there. A little bit more posability than I thought I'd see. I see the neck joint. There is the post, very similar to the Buckbeak figure. However, right out of the package, you just see, so disappointment here. There's a broken wing. That's very frustrating. So it looks like there's a piece of plastic that snapped, but I'm going to try over the next few seconds here that you'll see to figure out if I can pop it back into place or if I'm going to have to do a quick glue job to get this guy reviewed because he was the only one at the store and all the stores in town that I checked and called. So, all right, so I'm going to is still staying a little frustrated here, but I'm going to stick with it and try not to lose my patience. And I think I ended up getting a little dab of crazy glue right on the tip of that to stick long enough for me to get this finished so that I can show you what he looks like. I'm going to move this wing very gingerly and slowly so you won't see the full posability out of that side, but you're going to see that from the other side, so you'll get the idea. All right, so one thing I do like, I really like that they failed on Buckbeak was Buckbeak wouldn't stand on his own, but you see I just pointed out the foot pegs going into the display base. So he can stand freely on his base, unlike Buckbeak, who he pretty much has to sit on that post, and once you get him on that post, there's no getting him off. And I didn't like that because it limited the posability, limited the possibilities that you could have with it. For instance, the wings were just too big to try to get him to stand up on. They're too awkward. He wouldn't stand up on just his feet, his claws very very well. So this base idea is a lot better. Plus, it adds to the scene itself because of course he's got the golden egg there on the display if you saw that, and that kind of adds to the scene. And I think overall the collection, if you were putting them together, I am going to talk briefly about the scale though. Speaking of putting them together here at the end, and of course I also have the photo shoot at the end that I did with the dragon here. So looks like we got him posted in the base, pretty stiff joints though. So when I'm trying to stand him up outside of the wing posed down, almost leaning on him position, he's a little picky. But again, I got to be careful with that wing because I don't want him to break off again. So here he goes. I'm gonna skip this part because it's gonna in about 20 seconds he's gonna fall completely flat on his face. So let's take a look at these legs though. We do have the forward and backwards ankle and it twists left and right, so that's good. That helped me get him on the pose eventually for the photo shoot later on. Tail completely spins back and or excuse me, swings back and forth. I do like this super posable tail though. It's really stiff and rigid and almost stays exactly where you leave it. Look, I made a curve there that's really sharp curve and it stayed right there. So as you can see, the wing is supposed to have the full 360, or excuse me, the full swivel there. And I love the little spikes that come off of the back. They're kind of a different material, a little bit more pliable. They're flexible, so they kind of add to um, the feel of him when you're picking him up too. It's kind of a little creepy, but it's definitely a nice effect, and I think it affects the overall look of the figure as well. I'm gonna put him back here on the base one more time so that you can see that he does actually sit on the base, and he does. I did actually get him on there pretty well. That wing does look like it's dragging a little bit, but he like I said, I was just being careful with it. So back to the scale issue. Of course, that's the one from this line. That's the Harry Potter from this line from the Deathly Hallows figure. Way too big, towering over the dragon. Even the figure arts, if you can see in the background, even he doesn't scale right with the dragon. It should be way bigger or a way smaller figure to couple with it. But as far as detail goes, posability, overall, I'm going to show you a little bit more on those joints and a little bit more of the features here in a second. But first, Harry's going to say hello. Hi, I beat you. I got the egg. And there's the egg on the bottom of this display stand there. If you didn't see that the first time. I know I kind of panned over it a little quick, so sorry about that. So going back to those foot pegs, they did work out pretty well. The neck goes completely up. However, when you raise his neck up, those spikes go over that joint line, so you can see they're bending. You see the one just kind of get pinched in the joint there, so that wasn't the best. I mean, it's kind of a catch-22. So you get the posability of the neck, the flexibility of the neck, but if you overstretch it, you're gonna poke or pinch those spikes in there, and I'm sure they will wear off and break off eventually. It's very similar to the tail joint as well. I didn't feature those here in this, but it's the same thing. So be careful with those when you're posing it. But got some good shots out of them. A little fire effect in the background, kind of like the one you saw at the beginning of the video. His wingspan is really wide. That is one thing that I will give it for that. So it was a little bit difficult getting a super close shot of his face without, uh, leaving out the wings. But I think we did a pretty good overall. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy and pick him up if you see him. It's pretty good dragon.